I don't want to do name calling. That's not the point. It's not to get out here and troll and talk about how people looked or to use bad names. It's to talk about what the issues are and what the choice will be November 5th. But I want people passionate.
But how does the word fight lower the temperature?
You know,
that I don't get.
I see it this way. Fighting with words.
Yeah.
Yep.
Saying, and if you feel better, we can call it, we're disputing, we're disagreeing. I'll get out my thesaurus on this. But the basic point is, I get that there are places you and I don't agree.
Whoopi Goldberg and The View have been saying some absolutely insane things about Donald Trump and about the whole assassination attempt on Donald Trump ever since that situation went down. They've been saying insane things about Donald Trump ever since their brains have been broken by him back in 2015, 2016. But things have gotten a whole lot more insane recently ever since this Donald Trump assassination attempt. And today is not an exception. They're saying still absolutely insane things about Donald Trump, blaming Donald Trump and blaming us for the assassination attempt on Trump, which is just absolutely nutty because I think The View honestly plays a big part in the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, and the rhetoric that they talk about is a lot more harmful than anything on the right, in my opinion, or anything that even has come out of Donald Trump's mouth himself. Anyway, let's get into this clip here of Elizabeth Warren joining The View to talk about this Donald Trump assassination attempt and, of course, using it to push their own agendas. Let's check this out.
The attempted assassination of the former president, what was your gut reaction when you saw it, and do you think this country can change from it?
So the first thing I thought about is democracy. And what is like the core foundational principle? I mean, all the way down to bedrock. You brush everything else away. And it's that we have ideas, powerful ideas, important ideas, ideas that are not the same, things we disagree with each other on passionately, and we resolve it at the ballot box, not with violence.
Right.
That's it.
Terrible. Ever. Now, President Biden, I think rightfully so, is calling for the country to end political violence, saying it's time to cool it down.
Yep.
Trump says he's rewriting his convention speech even to focus now on unity. Do you think that this changes the state of the campaign, and do you believe that these candidates will be somewhat different going forward into the general election?
So,
you know what these people don't realize? The things that politicians say matter very little nowadays. It doesn't really matter what Donald Trump says. He is labeled as he's labeled, and it's never going to change. It doesn't really matter what Joe Biden says. He's labeled as he's labeled, and it's not going to change. What matters more than anything is the media and how the media spins what these people say. And so The View, Whoopi Goldberg, and everyone, they're putting the blame on everybody else except for themselves. Elizabeth Warren doing the same and saying not only is it the right's problem, but it's Donald Trump's problem, and putting, the burden on Joe Biden and Donald Trump in order to settle this. It doesn't really matter what they say. The View has it pains me to say, they have a much larger role than the president or the former president / future president to play in the country and the political violence, the political, I guess, war that's happening right now to cool down. The View has a lot larger part to play in that. And media in general. Media has a whole lot bigger part to play, in my opinion, nowadays than the actual politicians themselves, because nobody listens to what the politicians say. They listen to what the media said that they said, and they always spin it in certain ways to make it, mold to their agenda. And The View does that constantly. So it's not about what Donald Trump is saying at the convention or what Joe Biden is saying in interviews. It doesn't matter. What matters is The View is still saying the same harmful nonsense, same inflammatory nonsense that they've been saying for the last few years. And it's gotten worse and worse. It gets worse in this video.
let's start with the first about what it means to cool it down. In my view, cooling it down does not mean not talking about things that are powerfully important.
Right.
Right.
And facts.
Facts. In fact, can I just do a quick one on this? I know we may want to talk about this later, but think about it this way. Today, 30% of all women in America live in a state that effectively bans abortion, and that means likely blocks access to IVF.
Right.
If the Republicans, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, have their way, get their chance, it won't be 30% of women live in those states. It will be 100% of women.
Right.
And remember,
that's not going to happen. And number two, they asked her about the assassination attempt and the state of the country after, and she immediately started to plug the left. She immediately started to talk about how horrible the right is, how scary it is. Once again, it's like, can we cool down the rhetoric in this country? Well, yes, and we should definitely cool down the rhetoric. But I just want to insert this quick thing really quick. If Donald Trump and J.D. Vance win this next election, they are literally going to be Hitler. It's like, it's just the same patterns over and over again. I don't believe these people are real humans. I think they're robots programmed, and they haven't gotten a software update in years and years. They've said the same thing over and over again, no matter what.
Remember with J.D. Vance, he has said about abortion, no exception for rape or incest. Remember, he's from Ohio where the 10-year-old...
Donald Trump literally said in the debate the other day that he just wants to leave it up to the states. That's it. That's all he wants. That's what's happened right now. Nothing's going to change in terms of abortion if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance win. They're just going to leave it up to the states. I don't even think Donald Trump is like, whenever he was asked about the abortion issue, he wasn't hardcore like pro-life. He just wants to leave it up to the states.
Girl who had been raped could not get the medical care that she needed. And J.D. Vance says that's how it should be for everybody in America. Now, that's one side. On the other side, Democrats and Joe Biden are fighting to make Roe versus Wade law of the land again.
Right.
That is a discussion we need to have. That's what we need to talk about. And I don't think of that as tweaking up the rhetoric. I don't want to do name calling. That's not the point. It's not to get out here and troll and talk about how people looked or to use bad names. It's to talk about what the issues are and what the choice will be November 5th. But I want people passionate.
But how does the word fight lower the temperature? That I don't get.
I see it this way. Fighting with words.
Yeah.
Yep.
Saying, and if you feel better, we can call it, we're disputing, we're disagreeing. I'll get out my thesaurus on this. But the basic point is, I get that there are places you and I don't agree. And it's not just that to disagree, we have to say, well, let me pull out my tea and my cookies and talk sweetly about, I want you, bring me what you've got and I'll bring you what I've got. I think that's what we hunger for. We hunger for people who won't just sit back and watch access to IVF just leave this country.
I can't. This lady's so hard to listen to. Like, it sounds like she's about to break down in tears every time she talks. But it's funny how Joy Behar once again tries to blame Donald Trump for inflaming the country. The man got shot, and it's still his fault. It's just, I don't even, what can I even say at this point? There's no logic and reason behind the things that she's saying. It's like, they come on here and they talk about how horrible Donald Trump is, and they fearmonger and say, if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance win the election, then no woman will ever be able to get an abortion. Doesn't matter if she was brutally raped or not. It's like, none of that's going to happen. And they just get to say this with no consequence. But then they get mad at Donald Trump for after he literally got shot at a rally for saying fight. Because that's the problem with the country. It's not shows like The View that fearmonger constantly, that refuse to acknowledge facts, and it doesn't even matter what you say. It's like they're just going to forever do this, and they just get away with it. There's nothing we can do about it.
Watch half our population lose access to abortion because an extremist wing of the Supreme Court, 6 people who, by the way, swore until the world looked level that they would respect precedent, just threw it out the window. I want people to stand up and defend the position I believe in. I want the other side to make their argument. And then I want people to vote on November 5th and vote for Democrats.
Well, and win on ideas. It's not the
win on
attacking. Yeah. Well, I do want to just follow up with that. Republicans just approved a new platform backing off of a national abortion ban.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a middle ground on abortion?
If you enjoy content like this, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
That can be reached?
So, look, I just want to say with the Republicans on abortion, fool me 126 times, shame on me. Look, is anybody, you really want to just say, do they think we're stupid? I mean, this is the same group. Remember, justice nominee after justice nominee came in and said, oh, abortion, the law has been settled. I am so into, and by the way, I just want to point out, that was said without any words about fight.
Yeah.
As they stood there and said, in effect, I would not disturb Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
And so, look, people like me, I was like, well, do you really believe them? Okay, I'm a skeptic.
Yeah.
Voted against them.
You were
But
right.
I thought the first decision that comes up that raises abortion, I thought they'd take a bite out of it. You know what I mean? I thought they'd like, and then the second one, they'd take another bite. I knew we were.
Okay, I don't care about this fear mongering. I really just wanted to talk about and show you once again, they're still doubling down on that. It's all Donald Trump's fault that he got shot. It's his fault for all the inflamed state of the country right now and the inflamed state of the political discourse. It's all Donald Trump's fault. And it always will be. And now they just get right into talking about abortion and how horrible the right is and fearmonger even more. If you don't vote for us, if you don't vote for the left, you're going to get literally Hitler as the president of the United States. It's a joke, man. I can't believe anybody takes this stuff seriously, but they do. They 100% do. That's why Donald Trump got shot, because people take people like The View and other commentators like them seriously, and they get brainwashed by it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole The View, situation. Elizabeth Warren going on The View, talking about the Donald Trump assassination attempt and blaming Donald Trump and not taking any accountability for the whole situation. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole The View and Donald Trump assassination issue.